up, everybody? Welcome to the 7th episode of the Plant Movement Podcast. My name is Willie Rodriguez, accompanied by Eddie Gonzalez.
What's up?
Right, guys? So this video is being launched right before the New Year. So Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everybody. Awesome. I'm so excited for 2022, right?
Yes, sir.
And 2021 has been one of those lottery ticket years. It's been one of the years that we might not see again. Let's see what 2022 brings. But it has been a wild year, so we felt right to just make this episode a recap
100%.
of 2021. And I'm gonna talk about the ups and downs, the goods and bads, right, that intertwine with, my side of things, which is the wholesale nursery side of it. And I'll go into some stories. I'll go into a couple things, but I just want to do a recap basically from start to finish and dive in.
Right. Good.
Right?
That's right.
So 2021, like I said, has been a wild year. For some people, it's been amazing, like hitting numbers that they never thought they can hit, right? And for some people, it's been one of the worst years,
True.
right? Because of inflation, because of, higher rents, everything, higher value of everything that has gone up. And we have so much that we've been dealt with this year that just to get through it and on to 2022, which nothing's going to change just because the year changes the date, right? But that's what gives you hope, right? You reset. A lot of people, New Year's, they're like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to change my lifestyle, whatever. So, it's good for your brain to restart and start again, right? So 2021, guys, for, going back to the beginning of 2021, COVID was already here, right? The pandemic was already here, which we already had the craze of everybody fixing up their houses, people flipping houses, contractors building like crazy, right? We had commercial properties being built like crazy, big buildings, big developments. I'm talking, hundreds of houses or thousands of apartments being built, not just here in South Florida, but statewide. I'm sure that's happening all over the country as well, right? Which you can always jump in the comments and hit us up through the comments and tell us, how's everything going over there, wherever you guys are at.
Truly.
But so entering 2021, things were already booming. Like it was a steady, solid climb up, and product was flying off the shelves. I remember product wasn't lasting. Stuff that was up to size was being bought out very quickly, and we were already getting to the point where it was hard to find items. Right. So then, late February, early March, Texas, which is pretty much the biggest state that buys from us, is Texas. In springtime, which is March, April, and May. That's springtime. Sometimes it starts a little later because if there's still cold fronts happening over there or in other parts of the United States, spring starts late. Right? So they had a nasty freeze, one of the worst freezes they've had in a long time. And they were seeing very low temperatures. And I went online and we Googled this. The damages totaled $195 billion from that freeze. So you got to think about it. For stuff here, like the tropical stuff that we grow down here, normally anything around 40 to 45 degrees, you start to see damage. Not instantly, but you'll see it within the weeks, right? Which plants start to defoliate. Those plants will start to defoliate. Crones especially. Anything close to 45, 43, 42 degrees, you'll walk through the house a week later, and as you're walking through the block, the leaves just start falling off of the plants, right? So freezing temperature always 32 degrees. But just to think that in damages with 195 billion was crazy. So they had to restock everything. Right. So to restock everything, and not just their garden centers, right, but their landscapers had to pull out whatever these, their customers wanted redone. So the garden centers over there started buying big time over here. And I'm talking big time, like crazy. I have a video at the bottom of A's Ornamentals Nursery's IG page, which was filmed in April of 2021. And I'm just going in like a little bit of what the reality was living through that time. I'm talking about plants did not last. That's when the whole, the price hikes weren't here yet, right? I'll get to that. But what we were experiencing at that time was everything flying.
Yeah,
I'm talking flying. So we're selling plants that aren't ready to be sold. If a plant's supposed to be in a 3-gallon, 18 inches, that's the norm, right? That's what people want. We were selling them at 10 inches, right? Barely rooted, which is not how you sell plants. Okay. You need it rooted. That way, when the landscaper gets a hold of it, wherever it goes, garden center, nursery, whatever, when the landscaper gets a hold of it or the homeowner gets a hold of it, when they go to transplant it, you want the plant to be filled with roots. Right. That way it's solid, the soil's solid, doesn't fall apart. And that's another way to know that the plant is going to, maintain its healthy state when it gets transplanted to its new home. When a plant doesn't have that many roots, it can go into shock. Oh, okay. Right? That's good. So, but it got to the point where people didn't care. You got to think about it like, Texas was buying everything. They didn't have anything. So whatever they got was good for them. So you had a lot of nurseries down here that started pumping out to Texas, which you got to be Texas certified. I'm not going to get into that. I know a lot of people, they winged it, and they figured it out. There's loopholes for everything. So, they did their thing and they made their money, which was good. Right. It's good for them. For us here, like at Ace Ornamental, I didn't sell anything to Texas at all. I think I had a couple customers here that were shipping to Texas, and I know some of those plants probably went over there because I know that's what they do. But nonetheless, I sold it to my existing customer here in Florida, right? So they were taking everything. And I'm talking probably like in that video, I talk about $1 million and then like a day, but it's probably more like 10 to 15 million a day. Because the numbers we were hitting were crazy, and then the numbers that other people were hitting were crazy. So when I started thinking about it after I recorded it, it's probably like 10 to 15 million a day getting pumped out of here. So then from that rush coming, which you also got to think about the landscapers, that got the landscapers into a huge bind, right? That got you guys into a massive bind where you already had contracts signed. You already had things set up from months prior, that you had specs that you had to meet, that the design, the architect, spec'd everything out, and you had to go by that. Everything was signed, deposits were made, right? And now you got stuck in a rut of not having that product available at that size. So now you're having to figure out where can you get the product. So at that time, people were having to go up north, not up north from another state, but just northern Florida or central Florida to the garden centers that have the stuff for more money, right? Because they buy it, wherever they get it, and they put their markup on it, which their markup's a lot more than if you get it from a wholesale nursery down here. Because we're like the hub, right? We're like Chinatown. That's what I call it, because we are. So they were having to go to other places to go get the product that's up to size to come through for the client, but they were eating the upcharge, right. So like quick story about that. I have a good customer, landscaper. He has multiple accounts at the beach, right? So they were redoing one of the back parts of the hotel, and he already had everything done. This was, pre-planned for 4 months. So when it was time to do that, he had to go and get the product wherever he could, because I couldn't come up with it. And then for me to go to a garden center and buy it and flip it and make some money on it and sell it to him, he's going to be super, over budget.
And these are maintenance accounts.
These are maintenance, but they were redoing the landscaping on that one. He does maintenance and landscape. He takes care of the hotel. Whatever they need, he takes care of it. Got it. Even Christmas lights, all that stuff. So, which have to do with multiple streams. But that's not this episode. Right. So, in that job, he ate through all his profit. And to finish the job, he had to pull out 10 grand of his own money just to come through for the client, but he didn't want to upset the client because he has all this work for so many years with them. Of course. And that's the thing, do you make that move? Do you tell them, hey, the prices went up? At that time, it was entering this new world that we live in now, right?
And all that because of the boom in Texas.
All that because of the boom in Texas and the boom because of the pandemic, the housing. Yeah. Remember, this industry,
everybody doing their stuff, right?
This industry is, moves based off of real estate, right? So if they're building a lot, then everything has to be to pass the permits, to get the permits passed, and to get the CO, which is to get the keys to the property, right? The house or the building. You have to have everything up to code, and a landscaping is part of that. So that's a good thing. So imagine that you're doing a landscaping and now you have to eat it, right? He didn't have to eat it. He could have walked away from it. But then what would have happened with all the other accounts? So that's something to think about.
Of course, he comes through.
He comes through, which is why I tell on A's, I've talked many times on the stories, and I tell the landscapers especially, guys, make sure in the memo part of your invoice at the bottom, even if it's that, right? Even if you don't have a contract or a separate contract, which is the better way to do it, to reach out to an attorney and get something made properly. Like if you're doing a $5,000 job, it's whatever. You could do a little memo at the bottom. But if you're getting into these $500,000 projects, $1 million projects, $200,000 projects, it's worth spending $500, $750 on a detailed contract, and you get a signature. That way you don't get hurt.
Of course.
Remember, these people that you work for have way deeper pockets than you. Their pockets go down to their socks, right? So that's something to really think about, and that's what I talk about with these, on the stories. So then we're in April, May. Now, during that time, since we were moving stuff so fast, and not just us, everybody, when I talk about us, I'm talking about the industry down here. Everyone at the same time started ordering liners. Everybody started ordering pots. Everybody started ordering soil. Everybody started pre-booking things, right? Because it was getting emptied out so fast. And for us, it was crazy. Like blocks of, I'm talking 5,000 plants in 7 gallon, 10,000 plants in 7 gallon will get wiped out in 2 weeks. So that's great, right? Oh, wow, you sold all that, you made money. Yeah, but that's not just what I'm after, right? I'm after more than money is coming through from my customers.
Of course.
And for whoever calls me. That means more to me than whatever money I made at the end of the day, right? Your relationship, you coming through, your word, that to me means more than actual dollars, right? Because you could do more with that, right? You could do things with that you can't do with dollars. Continue growing. So then we got into that, right? So then you got to think about it. All the places, the facilities, the factories that they make fertilizer, they make pots, right? The mines that mine the peat. So peat comes from the core of the ground, and we get our peat in Florida, right? So it grows 5 inches a year. 5 inches every 100 years.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Peat.
With that episode with Eddie.
Yeah. You can watch on A's, go down to the bottom or on YouTube, jump on YouTube, A's Ornamental Nursery. You can watch a whole video that we did with Eddie Valen. This guy's a soil guru, right, for over 40 years. And so he talks about that there. So everybody's ordering. The facilities aren't working at full capacity because COVID, shut things down, slowed things down, changed everything down. So now everyone was buying up what they could get that was already available.
Right.
All of that got bought up. So now they introduced the waiting list, right? That the waiting list has hurt us big time.
And this is something that was never.
This was never like that.
This is new.
This was new. Like the soil guys, they had all the raw ingredients, whatever they would use, pine bark, Canadian peat, Florida peat, whatever. Right. They had it in huge mounds, and I'm talking hundreds of loads sitting on the floor.
From what you could remember. From
what I can remember. If you watch that video, you're gonna see that there's no soil on the ground anywhere because it's hard to get. Right. So imagine that. Before we used to call, and I would get soil same day or next day. Pots, I would get them same day, next day, and I would only order what I needed. Right? Same thing with fertilizer.
And you're talking about how long ago? Like a few months ago?
No, I'm talking, the beginning of the year.
You were able to get it
the beginning of 2021. Yeah, normal. Hey, I need 4 pallets of pots. Can you drop off one here, one here,
and
one
here,
one here?
And that has been like that always?
Always been like that. We've never had a supply chain crisis that I can remember, and I've been, in the industry basically my whole life, right? So it's crazy. Right. So then for an industry that's never felt anything like that, and then, to deal with that, and then the rush that we had that was crazy. Right. I remember I talked to a guy that brings in cuttings from Costa Rica. He brings in crotons. He brings in a bunch of different things. He was telling me that the big boys out here, which I don't want to say any names, but the 2 big boys out here that if you're down here, you know who they are. They were, battling with each other with him to get a hold of what he had, to buy up everything he had in Costa Rica that was coming. And he was getting orders for 1 million mammies, 1 million petras, cuttings, which you put 3 per pot. So they can do 300 and something thousand from both of these places. Forget about all his other customers. I'm just talking about these 2 big boys. And he's like, Willie, I only have 350,000 cuttings. I don't even have to supply not even a quarter of what one guy wants. Basically. So that's how crazy it got down here. And like for us down here, we're trying to fulfill orders. So I'm always planning ahead. So I would go purchase a product, right? I would go tie a product. I would go purchase a product. And that's something that was just hard to obtain because at that time it was new to go and buy product or tie a product that's not ready. That's not normal. So then you're like, oh man, if I buy this product, if I spend my money here and I tie up this product, I might have to wait 3 months to be able to sell it. That was my initial reaction because it wasn't up to par, which what everybody wanted. But then it got to the point where people didn't care. They just needed it to finish the job.
And finish the project.
Right? So then that was our gateway of getting rid of stuff that wasn't, up to size.
Right.
But it was literally insane. It was the most insane time that I've ever felt in my life.
This is
and it was
just
crazy.
2021?
And this was just 2021. Yeah, thinking back, like for me, the end of 2019 when the pandemic started, and 2020 and 2021 to me is a whole cluster. Yeah, right?
Wild,
to me, it's hard to differentiate everything, right? Yeah, and then like I'm always moving so fast, doing a bunch of things, so it's like literally like a cluster.
That's wild.
And I know that's how a lot of people feel. I feel like we've been in this pandemic for 5 years. You know?
And I'm new to this industry, plant industry at least. And it's
so you're learning about it, and it's crazy.
It's wild, yeah.
It's crazy. So we have that. And now we're to the point where these facilities are still, short-staffed because we have massive employee issues out here. And I'm going to be 100% real with you guys.
Everybody is right now. Everybody.
I'm going to be 100% real with you guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to be real in this episode. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time.
Yes.
This is something I'm involved in, and I have my, heart involved in this, and I want to just talk about it.
Right.
So employees are a big issue down here. Trucking is a big issue down here. I know a guy that he has 8 trucks, and he only has 4 drivers, right? So that's another huge problem. That, we can just jump into this. December 10th and 11th, more than 40 tornadoes touched down in multiple states, Kentucky and Tennessee. All right, this just happened a couple weeks ago, and the death rate, which is crazy to even say this, is at 100 or right around there. Maybe they found a little bit more from now, which is very sad. 2 babies, when you pull it up, it says there that 2 babies flew away in a bathtub, but they survived. So that's amazing. So God was watching over them. And so now, based off of that, you already know what happens. So now FEMA jumps in, disaster relief, right? Disaster cleanup. All the landscapers over there, everybody floods from different states over there to clean up because FEMA pays a lot more than you can make doing your regular jobs.
Right.
So people go over there, they work for 2 months, and they pick up a lot of money. When we had Irma here, I know a trucking guy that had dump trucks, and he was just providing the service of dump trucks, and he had a backhoe service, whatever, cleanup. This guy made $100,000 in 2 months, like crazy. Right. That's what they pay. Like, it's crazy. So what is that gonna entail for us? A lot of these big, semi rigs that they have, the dump semis that move soil for our industry, they're gonna go over there. So we're gonna have less trucks here to move soil, which is going to create more of a delay in getting the soil to the customer, right? Yeah. So like the raw ingredients is what they ship. So they ship all the raw ingredients to the main location, and then they put it in the machine. They create the mix for it.
And this is information you're getting from Eddie, because I know you have.
Yeah, Eddie's the one we talked the other day, and we talked about this, and it was mind blowing. That's why I'm talking about it today. It's mind blowing that this is what it is. Like you feel like, how much deeper can we get in, to inflation? How much deeper can we get into this? And the reality is, we don't know, and it's just starting in reality.
Right. And no, those are words that are coming out of a gentleman who owns the soil company. So it's just crazy.
He's worried about that, right? So and then sales for those companies have plummeted because they don't have the product. And then, like for us, if we go get it, like we order from him, he doesn't have it. I call other companies down here that supply people with soil. They're not selling to existing customers anymore. So you got to get very creative.
Non-existent customers.
To non-existing customers, to new customers, they're not selling to, because they can't even supply their existing customers because they don't have the raw ingredients to create what they need.
Right.
Another thing when it comes to soil, the coconut, right, which is shredded coconut, coca-cola, comes from India, whatever. Since it comes from overseas, which we're going to be getting into an episode with a guru in this that's been in it for 27 years.
That coming up
with Milton. So stay tuned for that episode. We're going to get into the logistics side of the global, world.
He explains everything.
He jumps in deep. He does ships, and he does air freight. He does everything. Basically brings it From wherever you order it, straight to your door. And he takes care of it all. That's what we're going to be jumping in one of these episodes. But we're talking in
January.
So I'm talking with Eddie, and he's telling me now,
Eddie Swells.
that the coconut, the shredded coconut used to be $8,000 for a 40-foot container shipped from India. It's at $30,000 now, guys.
Wait, what? From 8? You said $8,000.
From $8,000 to 30, right? So it's crazy, and that all has to come with a bunch of stuff. That stay tuned to the Milton episode, and you're gonna listen to that in January. So it's just crazy where we're at. These facilities that make the pots, they're having trouble getting plastic because our pots are made with blow molds. It blows the plastic out into the mold and it creates the pot. Right. So they're having trouble with that. They're having trouble, I'm assuming, with people as well. They're having restriction guidelines. Ohio, you're from Ohio. Ohio is a Democratic state, so everything over there is very locked up, right? Everything's locked up, so it's not like Florida. So when all this stuff comes into play, that's why there's so many shortages. And then getting the pots from over there to over here, we need trucking, But then now we have ships that are bringing 20,000 containers, these massive mega ships, bringing 20,000 containers from China, from wherever they're coming. And now they have to unload them. And now they got to get 20,000 trucks to move the containers to their destination, right? Or to help move them wherever they need to go. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So, and there's not enough trucks. So this is the reality of what we're living. And from this happening, there's a lot of nurseries that are suffering, right? And that's just the reality. Remember, our stuff that we grow is growing. It's not like you sell auto parts and you buy alternators. You buy 1,000 alternators and you have them on a shelf. If you sell them now or in a year from now, the only thing that you might lose on is money. But the product is still good and you don't have to maintain it. You have to do nothing with it. For us, we got to maintain the product. It's alive. We got to make sure it's pretty. And when things get to a certain size, you have to step it up into a bigger size. You can cut back bushes, right? You can get away with buying time on certain items, but you can't buy time on, let's say, palms or trees, right? You can't. They need to grow. You can't cut them back. They'll die. Right. So us here, I've had to, like, stuff that we step up that are meant to be in a 15-gallon or 25-gallon, we make those a little bit more special. So we don't just do one plant and step it up like that. We'll put 2 or 3 in a pot to make it more, fatter, more appealing and better quality. Of course. So like these 7-gallon, I'm going to say Arecas, 7-gallon Areca palms, I had to get rid of more than half of the crop that I had to step up in 15s that I don't sell them in 7s. Because I'm making them specialty for the bigger pot sizes. I had to get rid of more than half of them because I didn't have the 15-gallon pots to put them in.
When you say get rid, you mean sell?
I had to sell them.
At a smaller size.
I had to sell them in a 7-gallon, which they're not meant to sell in a 7-gallon because I'm making them, I'm putting more money into them.
Of course.
You get me? So the normal market price for a 7-gallon, I had to sell those for more because they were special. I had more money into them. Right. So it creates that issue, right? So it comes down to everything. Even people that do, like, one of my buddies is starting something now that he needs, pots. It was a mission to get pots. It was a mission to get soil. He had to order it in Orlando, and they have the mix that he needs, right? And this is for one truck. They don't ship down here. So now he had to find a trucking company to go pick it up and come back, which costs more than what regular freight is. Right. If they think about it, they bring raw ingredients down here, and you're buying it from a local vendor, that freight gets dispersed between every load, right? So they take a couple buckets, they take 10 buckets of that one raw ingredient, they put it in your mix. That gets dispersed between everybody that buys from that truck, right? He's having to pay $1,100 just to go and pick it up and bring it down. So now, when you look at everything that's happened, pots, guys, like, to talk about pots real quick, just to give you this story. Our pot, we have multiple vendors that we get product from, pots and fertilizer and chemicals and all that type of stuff. Yeah. They told me, hey, if you want to get on a priority, order a semi. I don't order a semi. I've never had to order a semi at a time. Yeah, you get a little bit of a discount, but for me, there's more risk involved because right now people are stealing. I had theft done the other day at the nursery. So the last thing you want to do is have a whole semi-load of pots sitting at your nursery. Multiple people have got hit out here for pots. Right now, pots are like gold. So I'm like, okay, put me down for 3 because I'm not obligated to buy them, right? I'm just putting my name on a sheet for three truckloads,
Right.
and I'm writing my name blind to the price. They don't even know what the price is going to be, right? And they don't know when I'm going to get them. So the timeline for the first truck was 2 months. Then the 2 months turned into 3, and then on the 4th month we received the first truck. The prices came basically double versus what we were paying in the beginning of the year.
Right.
So they came double. But the worst part about that, because, okay, they're double, it's okay, I got to invest more, which is not what I want to do. But I got to invest more into the pots, which I'm just going to have to sell them for more. That's just basically what it is.
Right. Yeah, it increases the price for everybody.
It increases the price. But this is where it gets even worse for the growers. The second truck, he's giving me an 8-month timeline, right? And this is buying a whole truckload at a time.
Right.
So when you think about that, it's crazy. Like, what are we gonna do? Yes, there's other ways of doing it. Use pots. You know, you can have, if you know, you guys are growers, you can have the landscapers that buy the product from you. You know, hey, can you please help me out? I'll give you a discount. Bring me back the pots. You know, there's different things you can do. You can buy used pots if you find them. There are people that are dedicated to this industry, which is another stream of, they collect used pots and then they sell them to the nurseries again, right? Which people make money. I know people make $100,000 a year selling used pots, and they make pennies on pots, right? But that's what it used to be.
And
now
to
they
go
can
back to what you said earlier about, you know, the contracts. Price is subject to change based on what you're even getting with the pots.
With everything.
Just everybody's, that trickles down.
No, it trickles down. And we're having to
horrible.
increase prices from one day to the next because when you look at the math, you're like, hey, I'm not going to make anything. You know, whatever margin you need, because every business is different depending on how big you are or what you have. You know, like if you have large insurances, you have trucks, you have different things, you need to make a higher markup, which entail you have a bigger business that's more professional, let's say, you know, and you can do more, right? So it costs more. But I had to adjust everything quickly. I had to adjust everything quickly because, and it's not what I want to do. And I know that there's landscapers that were giving me prices. You know, I gave prices on certain things, and some things I honored it. But some things I called them and said, hey, listen, I can't. You know, or I sold out of them, so I had to go buy them somewhere else, and I paid more. So now it's going to be, you know, 15% more. Which that 15% more for them, it dips way into their pockets.
Of course.
You know, so, but I have to let them know.
Yeah.
Just like now, I'm getting bids for the first thing I ask whenever I bid something out. What, you know, this is for a big project or whatever it is, even if it's a house, you know, whatever it is. Right. I tell them when, that's the first question I ask. When is this project? Right. So I can kind of guide myself on what the prices might be. I don't know what the price is going to be starting 2022 because everybody's going to go up. I'm just waiting to see what the up is. Right. Everything's gone up gradually, right? But, and this is an industry that hasn't seen price changes in 20, 30 years when it comes to the price of the product. Back crazy. In the 80s, like the soil was cheaper, the pots were cheaper, the fertilizer was cheaper, labor was cheaper, rent was cheaper, everything was cheaper, trucks were cheaper, fuel was cheaper, and the prices were the same as what they were in the beginning of the year to this day. So the fertilizer, all those things, like all those things went up, but the product stayed at the same price. Wow. So, you know, as time went on, the grower ended up making less and less and less, right? But now we have to change the prices. So we're dealing with changes of prices. We're dealing with shortages of everything. We're dealing with inflation, right? Which is the hidden tax, right? Which inflation is real. Inflation normally is 2% a year. I've seen some things that say 6.8 is where it's at now. I've seen things that say almost 15%. So if you look at those numbers, we're having over a course of a year and a half, 2 years, we're having a ridiculous jump in increase in inflation, which is, you know, 2 at 15, you're looking at what? That's 700% more or less of an increase of inflation, if that number's correct, right? So think about that, right? And these are all things you got to look at. And then with labor as well, labor has, you know, for the state of Florida, they made the new minimum wage $15, which is great for people that want to make that, you know, they need to make more money. But it's bad when you have inflation involved, and it's bad because all that does is trickle down. Like, think about it. And I'm not trying to be, you know, negative or anything one-sided at all. This is the truth. I'm just being bland when it comes to this. And this is what happens when when salaries go up, right, and everything goes up, yes, the employee makes more money, right? Which we all want our employees to make more money. But the downside of that is that the product is the one that's going to increase, right? So, and that's for everything that you purchase. Down. Forget about just this industry. I'm talking about going to the grocery store. I'm talking about everything is going to go up. And the percentage of inflation increase that we've been seeing is so high that even if we were to change it to 15 tomorrow, it wouldn't really help out much because everything is going up.
Everything goes up.
You know, so I'd rather keep it normal. Yeah. And nothing goes up because that's normalcy. That's what everybody was used to. Yeah. But that's not the reality of how everything is going. And inflation plays a huge role in this. The government plays a huge role in this. The housing market plays a huge role, you know, everything. So we're dealing with supply chain shortages. We're dealing with, you know, a demand. I'm interested to see what 2022 brings the spring because the spring is the busiest time of the year. So the good thing is right now, a lot of people have been telling me it's been slow for them, which is bad for them, but it's good for the plants.
Yeah, for the product.
Because the plants get to grow.
Of course.
And then we need time. We need to buy time on sales. Yeah. That way we can get more product on the ground. And I'm just talking about me. I'm talking about we as an industry, right? The industry down here, or let's say nationwide, because I'm sure this is happening nationwide. We need time for our plants to grow. We want to sell quality product. You know, we want to sell stuff that's up to par. We want to give time to the people to get pots, right? We want to give time to people to get their hands on soil, on all these things, which is not what we've been having. We haven't had time to do that because of the shortages. Right. So you drive around, like we are a 65-acre nursery. I have 10 acres empty. Why? Because of all these shortages and the delay on getting stuff. And then I'm also short-staffed. I can take another 10 people tomorrow. Right? But where are they? They don't come. So there's just so much that plays into what's going on right now. And I'm not trying to be negative, guys. I'm just telling you the reality of what it is. That's why I always tell the gardeners, if you're a garden center listening to this, please stock up your nursery. That's the only way that you are going to make money, all right, starting 2022. If you have an empty garden center, what are you going to sell? And garden centers, too, they're having problems with, I'm sure they're having problems with sod, with rock, with mulch. Because if this industry's been hit, every industry's been hit. Right. I have a buddy up in Cocoa Beach that he has a key lime pie store. This guy's been doing it for 30 years. He can't get the graham cracker that he's been getting for the same 30 years from that company. That company's been in business for 150 years. They might go out of business. Right?
It's sad.
His buddy does, he has a brewery. So they make beer. They put them in cans, bottles, whatever. He can't get 8-ounce cans. So when you think about that, it's just insane.
It's everywhere.
Right? And it's everywhere. Yeah. It's everywhere. So that's why I'm such a big advocate of being prepared. What I like to talk about is to invest your money into things that hold value, retain value, or grow in value. Right? Not so much hold it and leave it in a shoebox. That is the worst thing you can actually do, because if you think about inflation your dollar, I tell people dollars are worthless, because truly, if you think about it, they are. You're holding a $100 bill today. There's no value behind it. In a year from now, it is not going to be worth that $100. You cannot buy what you could buy before. I go to BJ's. I used to fill up a cart. I go to BJ's once a month. I stock up on meat. I stock up on everything for my family, whatever. $500. That used to be the average. Okay, perfect. That's for a month. That's great. Right? Now I go, it's $800, $900 for the same cart. Everything's gone up. So having money in a shoebox, you know, for me, like personally, and Dave Ramsey talks about this and people like that, 6 months to me is like a great cushion. If you can have 6 months put away, whether it goes down in value or not, it doesn't matter. You need some type of money put away, right? I'm never saying to invest everything. And you got to remember too, whatever money you invest after that money that you put away, like your safety net, is going into things that hold their value. They're going into things that increase in value. Everything has increased. So for the businesses that have tractors, they have trucks, they have trailers, they have land, they have product on the ground, everything's gone up. So it's a great place to have your money. If the neighbor's selling the same plant for $2 more than what you're at, you can easily click it over to $1 more, right? you'll still sell them all.
Of course.
And you made an extra dollar per plant just by having your money invested in that item and not sitting in cash. You can't take $100 bill and trade it in and say, hey, let me get 120.
Right.
You get me? You can't do that. But you can do that if you have it in an asset. That's why I'm such a big advocate of having things in assets and having land and having trucks and having things and having them paid off. We are going into a time, and we are living in a time that is very uncertain. You know, and then, yes, I want everybody to live up their life, right? We can die tomorrow, right? But you got to think into the future. That's what I love about this industry. We think long term. Because from a cutting to a 45-gallon takes 4 years. So it takes me or us growers 4 years to get our money back on that initial investment. We're investing throughout the life of that until it's in the size we want to get rid of it. So that teaches us massive discipline.
And patience.
Right? And patience.
Yeah.
So I'm a big advocate of that. And we are in uncharted waters. So when you're in uncharted waters and you're seeing things that you don't see, I'm very good at predicting the future in this industry, right? I cannot predict it 100% at this moment just because of how off everything is. Right? So the way that I like to look at things is not in a negative way. I love to prepare for the most negative situation. That way I'm prepared.
In everything.
In everything. Yeah. That way I'm prepared.
He's a doomsday prepper.
Yeah. Not a doomsday prepper, guys, but you got to think about it. The more prepared you are, the better chances you have of getting out of whatever we're getting into, right? So by having paid off assets, that sets you up. Think about if tomorrow your sales were to drop by 50%. Just think about it. Write down all your bills, right? Your expenses. I know, like employees, if you had to, you can get rid of a few, which is not what we want to hear, but you could. You have a rented piece of property, you rent 2 pieces of property, you can get rid of one, and you can keep one, right? That's being nimble. That's like having a backpack on. But write down all your bills for the month, and cut your sales by half, and look at that profit margin, and see if you can still pay for all of that.
Right.
Because that's the reality. People are seeing 50% decreases in sales. That's the reality. Your rent can go up tomorrow.
It's true.
The landlord can sell it for 3 times what he paid for because he bought it 15 years ago. He sell it for 3 times the amount, and now the new landlord has a bigger mortgage that you're going to have to pay for. Right? He's not going to eat the mortgage.
Of course.
He'll kick you out, and he'll find someone that can pay for it.
Just like the little clip we made the other day.
Just like the little clip we made this on IG on the Plant Movement.
Yeah.
You know, that person had to leave because the rent kept going up and up and up, and he's like, man, I'm not going to make anything. So he left to another place. Right? Which was kind of like a downside. It was, he had to downsize a little bit, and now he's not on that main little dirt road, which hundreds of cars pass a day. Now he's in somewhere else that no one passes by like that.
Right.
So you got to get more creative. So it's just so many things that go into being prepared, and so many things that I want everybody to be prepared for 2022, right? This industry needs to be prepared. And a lot of you guys are prepared, which is what I love, because I talk, there's a lot of old school folks in this industry, and these guys are all prepared. These guys have been doing it for a long time. A lot of them are millionaires, and they're chilling. They ain't got no worries at all, but the young bucks that have just started, and some of the guys that have been in here for 15, 20 years, right? They're over leveraged, which is okay in a time that money's coming in, But with all the stuff that's going on, you just want to be more, prepared, and you want to be more discreet. Like if you have, the nice fancy car to go out and have dinner, right? That costs you $800 a month. There's nothing wrong in having it. But when it comes down to what you need to have, if you were to cut down by 50%, is can you pay for it? If you can pay for it, good. That's excellent. Right. But if you can't, you got to start thinking now, because you can get rid of things now. You can make money on those things now. No, people are making money on everything. And you got to think about it. Like a lot of, let's say, newbies that just started, for you guys, listen to this. You guys are making money that you've never made before, right? Or you're starting out and you're building something. Make sure you're putting that money to the right places. Make sure that if you have 20 grand or 30 grand sitting in an account and you owe 10 grand on your truck, eliminate the payment, right? Eliminate the payment. It's tax deductible for this year, or you could do it next year. It's tax deductible, complete write-off for the year, so you don't pay taxes on that money. Right. And then also,
right now is a good time.
Right now is a good time, because you're making money, and you can set yourself up to keep the asset, right? Because think about it. Like I said, if things slow down, which at one point, like everything is so inflated and so out of control that things will slow down. And when things start to slow down, you want to be prepared, right? A lot of the guys that have been doing this for a long time, these guys they are so set. They have paid off assets, paid off properties. They have credit lines on these properties. They have money in the bank. They're just waiting. Right. Because with any crisis, there's opportunity.
That's true.
Right? And if you're set up for that, then you will be able to be part of whatever opportunity there might be. I hope that does not happen. I hope things adjust themselves. We start getting the supplies we need. And if the price stays where it's at, the price stays where it's at. And the industry, it's not like we're making more money, but it still costs more to the consumer, but there's more money flowing. How long can that happen? Remember, there's always an adjustment, right, in everything. Right? What goes up comes down. And you have to put that into perspective. You can't pretend that that's not how history works.
That's true.
Right? You have to be, into everything. That's why, I've always talked about like an entrepreneur needs to be involved in everything. And whatever industry you're in, you got to know it as good as you can. So this industry, I try to know it as best as I can. And I don't invest all my money just here. I invest into other assets as well, which, like, just real quick, just to give you guys stuff, there's so many different things you can throw money at. Right now, there's stocks, which I'm not a big stock investor, but I do have a couple things there. There's NFTs, which is the new thing. There's gold, there's silver. These are things that you can obtain with a little bit of money. There's even the metaverse that's out now, which I'm learning about. Yeah. I'm learning about as much as I can on my off time, and I'm investing into that, right? We're both investing into that. Yeah. And these are all things that, there's skepticism and everything, but you invest, chump change into things like that and see what happens. But when it comes to what you have today, you want to get rid of those payments that you have. That way, if things were to slow down, which there are people seeing slowdowns because there is the demand for the product, but the product's not there. And if you can't create the product, that you're gonna have a slowdown in sales. True. Just like the soil people have seen massive. They have sales to increase double, to go double. So if they were at, let's say, 1 million in sales, they could have done 2 million. If they were at 10 million, they could have done 20 million this year.
Right.
But since they don't have the supplies, they're not. The guy that's hitting 10 mil is selling 7. So he decreased by 30%. And this is just the reality what the supply chain is causing. And the employee shortages and all these different things, right? We all want to grow. We all want to continue growing, but you got to grow calculated, right? Like, I don't want to grow double or triple in a year. That will be crazy. I got to get more trucks. I got to get more drivers. I got to get more everything. Right. And can you get that? Can you obtain that? Right? So you got to be realistic in whatever you're doing. I talked to a young landscaper that he's been doing it for like 3 years, something like that. He told me that his business increased 400%, right? Which is kind of a reality in a startup because, startups tend to jump higher percentages in the beginning, right? Once you get to a certain thing of sales, like let's say you're selling 10 million, you're not going to sell 20 million. You could, and I'm not saying you can, and there are people that have increased 100%. In just this year. But that's not the norm, right? The norm might be 20%, 30 to 50, something like that. That's norm, which is still great numbers if you think about it. Your margins are, let's say, anywhere from 15 to 40%, let's say something like that in this industry, and you increase your sales, by $5 million, you just pocketed, another 2. Yeah. So, it's obtainable. And I'm not saying you can't do it, but you just got to think. And I'm, like I said, a big advocate of being prepared because you never know. And I am putting my money into paying off things. That way I'm more prepared. And don't ever look at money being like you're paying off something as, I don't have this money now. That's a bad way to look at it. You want to look at it as, okay, I put it in a savings account. And I put it in a savings account that stopped inflation from beating it. Because if you put it in an actual savings account in the bank, you still have inflation eating your money every day, which is not eating it, but your buying power is diminishing every single day. Right. So by buying and paying off a vehicle, right? Now that vehicle is yours and you can sell it, pick up all the money. You no longer have the payment, right? There's multiple ways of looking at it. There's also the way of looking at it as, okay, I have a property and I have a 30-year mortgage on it and my set payment is, I'm going to throw out a number, $3,000 a month. It's going to be easier for you to make $3,000 as time goes on because of the inflation. So you'll have more, let's say, money, because you won't have more money, but it'll cost you to make the 3,000 will be easier, as time goes on with inflation than it would be today. You get me? So there's two ways of looking at it. Me, I want to be prepared. Me, I want to have as much stuff, as I can liquidated. That way I'm set to the point where I'm very nimble. And if I got to slow down, downsize, let's say 50%, right? It's drastic.
Right.
I'm able to do that. Right? I'm able to do that. Or if you have a newer truck that's $1,000 a month, you get rid of the truck, you sell it, and you're going to sell it for what you have into it, or you might make something on it, and you get a not a beater, but a cheaper truck. Right? You get a cheaper truck. Right. And all you're doing is setting yourself up. I have buddies that they make money, and they have multiple leases. They have 3-4 cars at the house, and they're not renewing their leases because they don't need it. Yeah. And they see, we all see it. Like if someone on here, looks at everything that I'm saying differently, I would love for you to come on because I would love your version of it so we can share it with everybody because this is my version.
This is your perspective.
This is my perspective of it. There's hundreds of perspectives, right? But that's the reality of it. And as an entrepreneur, you're involved in the economy. You're involved in the government. You're involved in all these things, not not in a negative way, but just to soak up as much knowledge as you can so you can better prepare for what might happen in the future. Right? And if you're blind to it and you just don't pay attention to it, you're going to get smacked real hard in the face.
Truly.
And that's what I don't want any of you guys to do. I want everybody to win. And that's what I love about this platform, that we are basically the only nursery that has a podcast. Mm-hmm. And I'm very involved in the industry, and I can talk about these things. I feel confident telling you guys about the things that are going on because I'm living it, and it's the reality. It's not a joke. It's not a lie. It's the reality of what it is. Right. And I speak for our community. Yep. All you nurseries out there that are local, you guys know what it is. Right. You guys have been feeling it. All the landscapers have been feeling it. They've been feeling it hard. The landscapers have it, to me, they have it the worst out of everybody. Right? Because like as a nursery, if I don't have the product, I can go buy it from the neighbor and I can have it here and I can sell it, right? I have something to offer. A landscaper, you have every nursery to your expense, right? To go find product. But you have to deal with the customer. Mm-hmm. And the residential customers, they don't understand. They a lot of residential customers, and I don't, not to say it in a bad way, but they watch a couple videos on YouTube, let's say, and now they think they might know more than what the landscaper knows. Right. So when you put that into perspective, the landscaper has to deal with that. Retail's normally that's how it is. So you guys have to put these things and implement these things so you don't get hurt. That's why I'm such an advocate of putting that. Just put it on a memo at the bottom of your thing that prices are subject to change.
100%.
That you don't know. Not everything on the list, but some things might change. Labor might change.
That's true.
You might have to, your truck blows up. Right? Your truck blows up, or you had to buy 2 new trucks, and now it costs, $2,000 or $2,500 more a month. You have to get another lawnmower. You have to get this. You have to get that. Now that's cost more. So now you have to charge a little bit more to be able to do this stuff and have it. And if you don't adjust for price inflation, your bank account, you're gonna see at the end of the year you didn't make $1. You did everything for free, and that's not what it is. You gotta grow. That's it. Yeah. Right? You gotta grow. So that's where it's at. 2022 to end. I'm gonna end this up on a positive note. 2022 for me looks very solid. I've talked to a bunch of landscapers, and these guys have contracts. Some of them have contracts for 6 months. Some of them have contracts already for a year. Yeah. Some of them have jumped into big developments. They are building like crazy. So with that going on, that is a beautiful, solid indicator for how 2022 is going to be. Right. I lived through the 2008-2010 crash. That's kind of maybe why I am the way I am too. But since I lived through that, I learned from others' mistakes. Right. And the housing market was on fire, and it died overnight. So that's why nothing is promised. Did you think COVID was going to come? Did you think a pandemic was going to come? Did you think that we're going to have to be masked up? That no social distancing, locked up in a house for 3 months?
Never expected.
Did you think that was going to happen? So for me, I don't think anything is not possible.
Right now,
anything is possible.
Right, truly.
Right, and then that's just what it is. So 2022, I think is going to be solid. Mm-hmm. It's going to give us another. Spring's going to be solid. Are we going to have the inventory to pump out? I don't know. We'll see what how the next year entails. Let's see what January, February, March. There are people that are getting pots. We get calls. Hey, we got 10 pallets of 7-gallon pots. Would you like one? So that's a blessing to have able to got the one, but one pallet doesn't do anything. And to think about it, they got 10 pallets for all of Homestead, all of Miami, right? So it's like crazy, right?
It's true.
I think 2022 is going to be solid. You just got to be prepared. You got to pay attention. You got to get your money out of the bank, put it into inventory. If you're stocked up on inventory, you're stocked up on trucks to be able to move product or whatever it is you do for your business, whatever business you're in, you have equipment. Equipment's a huge, long waiting list. I bought a Kubota side-by-side for work, and I had to wait 6 months for it, right? But I ended up getting it about 6 months later. If you have what you need, you're going to be golden. I promise you, right? And getting your money out of cash and putting it into these things and paying off debt and stuff, it's only going to set you up for greatness in my perspective, And 2022 is going to be a good year. Let's see, for sales. I think the demand's going to be there. It comes down to if we get all the product that we need. But I'm very optimistic. I'm very positive, and I'm ready for 2022, whether it brings prosperity or whether it brings negativity, whatever it brings, I'm prepared. And also, before we finish, just to dabble into it, mental health, right? True. Mental health is one of the things that important. They play a huge role as well with whatever you get faced with in this journey that you're in. You want to stay positive, right? And by having everything set up in a way, you kind of feel okay. Right? You feel like I can be confident. More confident. I can be as prepared as I can be, right? Because everybody's different. I don't want to put numbers out there. I don't want to put assets out there. You can be as prepared as you can be, and you always still be like, man, I'm not prepared enough, Or I wish I would have done this, right? Or you sold $100,000 more, $1 million more, $10 million more, and you're like, man, I wish I would have sold a little bit more. That's just the nature of it, right? But your mental health, guys, plays a big part of everything, because if you are one of these guys that are having, depressive, thoughts running through your mind because you're a landscaper that you're dealing with these issues, because you're a broker and now you're dealing with the price hikes, that brokers have a massive problem too when it comes to that, because they're having to sell the product that's inflated here to people in other parts of the state. And they're getting chewed because those people don't want to pay the higher prices. They rather just come direct. So whatever state of mind you're in, make sure it's positive. Think outside the box,
Be
creative, whatever. I believe in God, whatever you believe in, make sure that is positive, man. Make sure it's positive, because the mind is very, very powerful, and it can get you in a dark hole if a couple negative things are going on. And they hit you at one time in a day or in a week, you can sink into a black hole.
It's true.
And you gotta suck yourself out of it. You gotta remember that anything negative that happens in your life, which we've all gone through negative things. I go through negative things on a daily, right? You gotta learn how to suck out of it, and you have to learn to take the positive. Remember, anything that happens in your life, it happens for a reason. And you need to put out the positive from it, whether it's a learning experience or whether it's something that, hey, I'm not going to do that again. Or, oh, man, this happened and I didn't know why, but now I know why. And thank God that happened when it happened, right? Like, let's say you do something, you make an error on whatever it is, and you lose 10 grand, 100 grand, whatever it is that you lost, and you're young in your journey. That is excellent that it happened young in your journey, because it could have been $1 million later on in life if you wouldn't have learned that lesson early on. So
and also keep your mind occupied. Stay busy.
Yes.
Keep learning. Don't stop. Hey, it's not the Willie I used to see.
Yeah, it's not the Willie I used to be. But that too, like, it all plays a game.
Health. Yeah,
your health, what you
important.
eat. What you eat plays a big role. If you're always eating these fast food chains and you're always eating that stuff, all of us are on the go. And I'm not gonna say I don't eat it. Sometimes I do eat it. But all that stuff, what it does is it's just you don't think about it, but it helps with the negativity.
Of course.
You get me?
Don't be afraid to look for help.
Don't be afraid to look for help, and
don't be afraid to look for help.
And that's the reality, guys. I don't want to touch on this subject, like that.
That's the truth.
I would love to bring someone on, a specialist in this, to talk about it, because this is the reality. I have one of my buddies that he's involved in the paramedic, the firefighter, the hospital, and he told me that he got called out to 4 suicides in 3 days.
Crazy. It's crazy time.
And it's the reality. People are going through it, and I just want you guys to know we're real humans. Right. We go through things as well. But the name of the game is getting out of whatever rut you're in getting out of that black hole as fast as you can. That way you can stick to it. Keeping your mind occupied, like what Eddie said, is an awesome tool. Yeah, whatever it is. Learning. Even if you're a normal person and you go to your 9 to 5 and then you go, go do something. Yeah. Get involved in something. Yeah, Eddie likes to go to the gym, right? So he goes to the gym and, whatever it is that keeps your mind occupied, make sure you're always occupied. Going home and just sitting there and it's good, right? But when you do that for a long period of time, it gets your mind just, crazy. Remember, our minds don't stop working. Right. All we got to do is get our body to follow the mind. Like when you want to wake up in the morning, your brain is telling you, hey, wake up, wake up, wake up. And your body's like, no, I'm so comfy, I don't want to wake up. Yeah. For me, I don't have that issue because I have 3 kids at home. So when it's time to wake up, it's like I jump. Yeah. I literally, I'm up.
And another way to stay entertained, if you feel like you bring something to the table and you want to share your story, we're always looking for people to bring on.
Yeah, we're always looking for people, innovators. Yeah. You guys have a product that's new to the industry or for any industry that intertwines with the industry, feel free to jump on. I would love to talk to you about the product.
Us, and DM us,
any professional, anybody, that's out here doing something, I would love to talk to you, interview. We got to take a hold of what this is. And this is a great platform to advertise on.
Yeah, promote.
It's a great platform to get out there, tell your story.
Tell us what you're
inspire,
doing. Inspire,
talk about the product, talk about your services, talk about everything. And it's giving so much positivity to the community.
Yeah, everybody listening.
Whoever listens, and it's awesome. I know we're starting off and it's young, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going.
With you.
We all want to grow together. We want to stay connected. We want to make this like a little hub for our industry, and I have faith that that's what this is going to grow into.
That's going there.
And little by little, but that's what it is, guys. 2022 is going to be a great year, and I have faith in that. And if you implement all the things that I always talk about, you are going to have a great year. And if we do see an economical slowdown this year, you'll be prepared, as prepared as you can be, right? And that'll help your mental state of mind stay positive, right? And that's what it is.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys. If you're in Florida and you need plants, all right, you're having trouble locating plants, you're having trouble for whatever it is you need, give us a call at A's Ornamental, 305-216-5320. We have a rock solid team here to bang anything out practically. Even if it's field grown items, I have a good buddy now that he's starting to help me out in that. So we can get you all your field grown material, your trees. I have another buddy that goes all the way up to Georgia, Alabama. He brings down stuff. If you're listening overseas, you're in Dubai, you're in any place like that. I also I have buddies that they ship stuff all over the world. Oh, wow. Even specimen things, huge trees, exotic palms, whatever it may be. We're very connected down here, and it's a blessing to be connected, and it all comes with, time. That's why whatever industry you jump in, stick and coming through, whatever industry you're in, stick with it and don't jump out of it. Stick in it and grow in it. And as time goes on, you'll become more powerful in it, and you'll soak up more knowledge in it. But there you go. Happy holidays, guys. I love you guys. We love you. We're excited for 2022. Enjoy your holidays, and you will see us on episode 8, which is going to be with Adam.
Oh, yes.
Which he brings something massive to the table. So you'll see us the following week.
Landscapers, this is going to be a great opportunity for you guys if you guys tune in. I mean,
it's heavy. It's heavy.
It's great stuff.
And that's what it is. Like, we're connecting with powerful people that bring something to the table for everyone, which is what I love. Not just landscapers, but anyone that intertwines with anything that has to do with us, outdoor, indoor. Adam, you're going to want to listen to the episode. So, love you guys. God bless you guys. Stay safe out there. All right? Enjoy your holidays. All right. Bye, guys.